partner, Michael Buschbacher. Michael, the very idea that Governor Gavin Newsom is talking about pollution is just utter bat-scat horse manure, because this was not about pollution. It was about CO2 emissions, and that is the very legal argument that just breaks down that what California did. The Clean Air Act let California set vehicle emission standards to address smog and pollution. Carbon dioxide emissions, CO2 emissions from gasoline cars do not contribute to pollution. And they should never have gotten the waiver from Biden's EPA, which they did at the last minute. Boom, passed through the Congressional Review Act by the Senate this week. This is donezo in the courts, is it not?
It is donezo. The Congressional Review Act says that there's no judicial review. And when you think about it, what is a Congressional Review Act resolution? It goes to the House, it goes to the Senate, and it gets the president's signature. That's a law under our Constitution. And the idea that Congress can't make a law to get rid of something is absurd. What they're mad about is that they tried to pull this midnight waiver nonsense to get away with this at the very end after Kamala Harris said, "I'm never going to tell you what to drive." Turns out they wanted to do that, and they did it in late December. And so it's perfectly within Congress's authority to do this. It's pure showmanship and just gaslighting to have this stuff about air pollution. In fact, like, if you dig in on the data on this, the amount of garbage that California put in that waiver application is just astounding. I'll give you one example. If you look at their claims about particulate matter, they say that it's going to help reduce particulate matter pollution to mandate EVs. And they say that conventional vehicles and EVs weigh the same. And they don't. And they're actually 20% heavier if it's an electric vehicle, which means more brake wear, more tire wear, all that kind of stuff. And they just completely ignore that and said it would be speculative for them to think that that differential would continue into the future.
Yeah, the tires
so you're
break
absolutely
down.
Right.
The tires break down in an EV quicker because of the weight, and it throws off particulate matter. And these automobiles, which they were going to force every Californian to buy, create more air pollution.
And go beyond that, brakes, the wear and tear on the roads, the heavier vehicles. You know, it's funny, I'd like the word gaslighting to be used there because that's what they were trying to get rid of. But it was the midnight factor. Who actually signed this deal is what I want to know, but we may never know, because this was done after the election. This was all part of the whole agenda, this whole electric ideology. But it's ridiculous for California, whether it's the AG or Gavin Newsom, and that op-ed is pure garbage that he wrote, to try and push the rest of the country to do what they want to do and what they want to force on their citizens. I mean, if you have a fire and your electric vehicle ain't charged, you know what you're doing? Going nowhere. Just one example.
No, it's true. The amount of just the amount of stupidity in this policy, the whole of government approach to mandate electrification, and Americans have rejected it. Something like 80% of Americans are opposed to electric vehicle mandates. And, you know, huge credit here to Senate Majority Leader Thune and to Speaker Johnson and to President Trump for following through and actually delivering on the campaign promises here. The Democrats and the deep state threw all kinds of hurdles in the way, but they were unsuccessful in that. And actually, a lot of Democrats came on and voted to get rid of these electric vehicle mandates precisely because they're dumb and illegal. And I think it was 35 in the House, and in the Senate, Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan very sensibly stood up for her constituents and voted the right way on this.
Amazing. And maybe this finally ends California forcing its own emissions and standards on the rest of the nation. So, Michael.
Oh, that's a really good point, because the Congressional Review Act says that the agency can't ever do something substantially similar ever again in the future. And so that means no more California electric vehicle mandates.
No more Cali-nutty. Thank you, Michael.
Michael Buschbacher. Up next.